Hello friends! With the Procreate 5.4 update, there are now even more incredible default brushes to choose from, and we're going to explore some of them. In this video, I'm going to try the Lovely brush. To find this brush, open the new Procreate brush library, go to the Oils set, and Lovely is second on the list. I haven't made any changes in the brush studio, and I'll be using the brush exactly as it was installed, and I have my canvas set to 4000 by 3000 pixels at 300 dpi. Before we dive in, I'd love if you'd like, comment, subscribe, and watch till the very end because it really helps the channel. Let's first take a look at the brush behaviors. So I'm going to test the strokes at different sizes. And at the smallest size, some parts of the stroke look a bit rough, almost like the paint isn't sticking to the surface, while other areas are very smooth. At a medium size, the paint starts to look more fluid. You can see the stroke marks as the paint moves. The edges on the stroke are also quite soft. At the largest stroke size, it also has that fluid look, and you can see more areas with some value shifting and some interesting patterns show through as well. Now let's test the pressure sensitivity. All right, the brush is indeed pressure sensitive. The value shifting we were seeing earlier seems to happen with light pressure. Then the color gets more solid and the stroke gets thicker when you apply more pressure. If I switch my grip and use the side of the pencil tip, it kind of looks like solvent has been added to the paint. You really don't get much color at all. And that's a pretty huge difference in value compared to painting with a regular grip. And you see lots of movement there too. It looks like you're actually kind of moving the paint around. The last time I reviewed an oil brush, I mentioned that I've never used traditional oil paint, and honestly, I assumed that all oil paints were opaque, but I recently learned that oil paints can actually range in opacity. So let's see where this brush lands. Despite the fact that this brush can look kind of transparent sometimes, the coverage is actually pretty opaque. There are a couple areas where you can see through to the color below just a tiny bit, but for the most part, it's got really good coverage. Now let's see what the smudge tool does. So I also have that set to Lovely, and the colors don't really blend that well. The smudge tool just kind of pushes them around. So this probably would not be a good choice for nice smooth color gradients. If you'd like to use this same process for testing your brushes, I made a brush testing worksheet for you. There's a link in the description for the free download. Okay, now I'm going to create some artwork with this brush to see how it performs. But before I start painting, I'm going to import a canvas texture background. And I'll leave a link in the description for where I found this free download. Just remember that you'll need to change the blending mode to multiply, and all of your painting layers will need to be below the texture layer. I wanted a nice dark color in the background, so that was the first thing I painted. I noticed that when you paint in a circular motion, you'll get the look of thinner paint, but if you use back and forth strokes, the color is richer and a little more dense. I wanted to keep some of the brush strokes visible, so I used a combination of both techniques. I didn't really notice anything out of the ordinary when I was painting the cake stand. The colors went down smoothly and they layered well on top of each other, and the white covered the dark background pretty effortlessly. You can see here how changing the pressure can create different results. When I applied more pressure, I got a nice solid line, but then adding a few lighter strokes created more transparent, almost kind of smudgy marks. Once I saw that, I continued to play with the pressure sensitivity a bit more to give the filling and the icing more texture. One thing I noticed about this brush that I really love is that you can actually get a good blend without having to use the smudge tool. Once I added the darker red, I could just move the pigment around and it would create a nice transition from light to dark. So you almost get a live painting effect. Now this worked well for blending different values of the same color, but I'm not sure how well it would work for blending two different colors. I didn't really try that with this piece. Here I use the side of the pencil tip to get that uneven, semi-transparent look of thinned out paint. This brush really has a nice range because I could easily transition from that thinned out look to really creamy opaque strokes, which made it really easy to layer multiple colors on top of one another. Then, by dropping the brush size down, I was able to make these dry textured marks for the strawberry seeds. At the last minute, I decided to include a couple flowers just to add more color to the piece. So I went with a really loose style, and this brush worked very well for that. Again, it was really easy to layer the colors, and I could get different effects by switching up the pressure or how I use the brush. I also like this dry stamp look that the brush created when I just dabbed the color rather than drawing a shape. I finished off those white flowers with the little color in the center. Then I added a shadow below everything. And there's the final piece. I really like this brush. As I mentioned earlier in the video, I think it's quite versatile, and I like that you can get a range of different effects, from dense opaque color to light and semi-transparent to rough and textured. I also love that you can get a blended look without relying on the smudge tool. If you've tried painting with the lovely brush, I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments. If you'd like to see more from this brush review series, there's a link to the playlist in the description. And if you enjoyed this video, remember to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. Thanks for watching.